What if the story NASA tells us about space isn't the whole story? What if, buried beneath decades of lunar landings, satellite launches, and scientific triumphs, there are secrets we were never meant to see? This is the story of Donna Hare, a NASA contractor with high-level clearance who stepped forward with a warning that some images from the moon missions were altered, that objects in space, unexplained, unclassified, were being quietly erased from a photographic record, and that the truth about what we've seen out there might have been kept from us. Now, before you roll your eyes or write this off as just another conspiracy theory, understand this: Donna Hare wasn't a fringe voice. She worked in NASA's own photographic and technical illustration labs. She had access, she had clearance, and more importantly, she had witnesses. In this video, we're going to walk through what she saw, what she heard from those around her, and why her story matters now more than ever. We'll explore real events, real programs, real people inside NASA who, like Donna, stepped out of the shadows. Because if what she claims is true, then the biggest cover-up in modern history didn't happen in some secret underground base. It happened in the skies above us, and in the photo labs at NASA. This is the true account of Donna Hare and the images NASA never wanted you to see. Before she ever made headlines, Donna Hare was just one of thousands of skilled workers contributing to the Apollo missions. She wasn't an astronaut. She didn't wear a flight suit. She wasn't giving press briefings at mission control. But her job? Crucial. She worked for Philco Ford Aerospace, a major contractor for NASA in the 1960s and 70s. She was stationed at Building 8 of the Johnson Space Center in Houston. And she had access to the restricted photo labs, the places where space imagery was developed, analyzed, and prepared for the public. Her role was in aerospace technical illustration and photo detailing. That meant she worked directly with mission images, adding measurement lines, labeling craters, and preparing clean versions for reports and publications. She wasn't a secretary. She wasn't a visitor. She had a clearance badge. She had a desk in the building. And she had relationships with engineers, pilots, and senior staff. Photos from Apollo missions were shot on film by onboard cameras. When those film rolls returned to Earth, they were developed and passed to teams like hers. And one day, while reviewing images in the lab, Donna saw something that didn't make sense. It was a photo, a clear, high-altitude image of the moon's surface, but in the upper corner hovered a metallic disc. Round, reflective, too clean to be a smudge, too symmetrical to be debris. At first, she thought it must be some kind of technical error, a lens artifact, or maybe damage during development. But before she could say anything, a technician leaned over and said quietly, "You're not supposed to see that." He pointed to a nearby bin. Photos like that, he told her, get sorted out. They're cleaned up, airbrushed, not once, not rarely, regularly. According to Donna, they had a whole process. If something showed up in a photo, something that didn't belong, they erased it. But that was just the beginning. After seeing that photo, Donna couldn't stop thinking about it. What else had been removed? And more importantly, who was doing the removing? She started asking quiet questions around the office. Careful ones, discreet, and one name kept coming up: the Airbrush room. A small, restricted area inside Building 8. Few people ever went in. Even fewer knew exactly what happened there. But those who did told her everything. That room, she was told, had one job: to alter photographs, to remove certain anomalies before the images went public. Anomalies that looked very much like craft. Craft that didn't belong to us. Craft with no visible propulsion. Craft that hovered, moved, and vanished. Donna said one technician explained it to her like this: "We paint them out. If something shows up that can't be explained, it's erased." And they weren't just doing this once or twice. This was routine, a quiet part of the workflow, undocumented, unacknowledged, but very, very real. Then there were the guards. One afternoon, Donna was chatting with a security officer outside the restricted photo lab. They'd gotten to know each other casually over the years. She asked him jokingly what would happen if someone tried to sneak into the Airbrush room. He didn't laugh. Instead, he looked her in the eye and said, "We were told if anyone tried to get in without clearance, we had permission to shoot them on sight." She was stunned. Shoot them? This was NASA, a scientific agency, not a military base. But the guard was dead serious. He said the orders came from high up, that whatever was being handled in that room wasn't for just anyone to see. That was when it truly hit her. This wasn't about blurry dots in the sky. This was about something they were protecting, and they were willing to go to extreme lengths to do it. So what happened to the photos? The ones Donna Hare said were airbrushed. The ones that weren't supposed to be seen. The ones pulled quietly from a pile and sent to a locked room down the hall. If this really happened, if there was a process for removing anomalies from space photos, then somewhere, somehow, there had to be a record. A trace. A version before and after. Something. And here's the thing. In the decades since Donna stepped forward, tens of thousands of NASA images have been released, scanned, uploaded, analyzed frame by frame. They come from the Apollo missions, from the lunar orbiter programs, from deep space probes and satellite telescopes. Some of them absolutely stunning. Crisp, high-altitude views of the moon's surface. Crater walls in perfect shadow. Footprints preserved in gray, airless dust. But others? Blurred, faint, marked by streaks, shadows, and shapes that don't quite make sense. And for the people still asking questions, people who believed Donna's story wasn't just testimony, but warning, those images are something more. Clues. NASA has always insisted its photo records are public, that nothing's been hidden, that what we see is what they saw. And in many cases, that's true. The Apollo Image Archive, for example, holds over 14,000 raw scans from the original mission negatives. The Lunar Surface Journal has full transcripts, photo indexes, even handwritten annotations from the astronauts themselves. It's all there, or at least it's supposed to be. But not everyone is convinced. Independent researchers have spent decades poring over those images, pixel by pixel, frame by frame, and sometimes they find things. Bright shapes near the horizon, structured shadows in places where nothing should cast one, perfect circles, symmetrical lines, reflections in the blackness above the lunar horizon, in a sky that's supposed to reflect nothing. Are they proof? Not exactly. Most of the time, NASA has an explanation. It's lens flare, film scratches, processing errors. But if that's the case, why did Donna's technician point to the photo and say, "You're not supposed to see that"? Why in a supposedly scientific agency were anomalies quietly pulled, sent to a room, and erased? Why did a NASA security guard tell her, "If anyone tries to enter that lab without clearance, we shoot"? NASA doesn't acknowledge any airbrush room. No official documents listed. No photos exist of what happened inside. But here's what we do know. NASA used manual photo editing during the Apollo era. Before Photoshop, before digital tools, everything was done by hand. Cropping, brightness adjustments, cleanups. NASA contracted with illustrators and imaging techs, like Donna, to prepare these photos for press, for scientific journals, and for congressional briefings. And yes, photos were routinely cleaned up. But not everyone agrees on what that phrase really meant. Because if anomalies were just glitches, if strange shapes in the sky were just scratches or streaks, why not just say so? Why was there a need for secrecy? Why were some images pulled and others not? And why did people like Donna Hare, people with access, with clearance, with nothing to gain, risk their careers to speak out? That's the part that still haunts researchers today. Not what's in the photos, but what might have been removed. Because the truth isn't just about what we've seen. It's also about what we haven't. And if Donna was right, then somewhere in those archives, among the images, the negatives, the shadows cast across forgotten craters, are the fingerprints of a cover-up that's lasted over 50 years. And the biggest secret of all might still be there, just painted out. Not everyone believes Donna Hare. In fact, many don't. To some, she's a well-meaning professional, misled by rumors. To others, she's a product of Cold War paranoia, a technician who stumbled into something she didn't understand and filled in the blanks with stories. And to a vocal group of skeptics, her story is just that, a story. Because here's the truth. The burden of proof in science and in history is high. And so far, Donna hasn't produced the photo she described. Not the metallic disc, not the airbrush version, not a single image showing the before and after. And in the world of space photography, where millions of raw images are now publicly available, that's a problem. Skeptics have pointed to several key points in their pushback. No physical evidence, no disk, no matching files, no image pulled from NASA's archive that shows the object Donna described. They argue, if there was a photo so unusual it had to be erased, why hasn't even one version leaked? Not from a whistleblower, not from a misplaced archive box, not in 5 decades. The airbrush room isn't listed in any official documents. NASA's Johnson Space Center has detailed blueprints, facility logs, even historical directories of photolabs. And while many photo processing and retouching stations are documented, none are labeled Airbrush Room. None are listed as restricted, classified, or top secret. No one, aside from Donna and a few anonymous technicians, ever confirmed its existence. Her memory relies on anecdote. Critics point out, her story rests on a moment. One photo, one conversation, one bin of strange images she says she glimpsed. No photos, no logbooks, just memory. And decades later, that's a fragile foundation. But even critics, the thoughtful ones, admit something else. That Donna wasn't some outsider. She wasn't a fringe theorist scribbling ideas on a basement chalkboard. She worked inside NASA's contractor system, in a real lab, with real responsibilities. She had clearance. She had co-workers. She had a badge. And if she was lying, why risk her reputation? Why testify under oath at the National Press Club in 2001? Why speak out at a time when almost no one was talking about UFOs seriously? She never sold a book, never headlined a TV special, never went on a speaking tour. She just told the story and stuck to it. And here's what critics can't explain: why multiple other insiders told similar stories. Not just Donna. Carl Wolf said he saw photographs of artificial structures on the moon while working in a classified darkroom at Langley. Ken Johnston, who managed photo archives for NASA, claimed he was told to destroy high-resolution images that showed anomalies and refused. Even astronauts like Edgar Mitchell hinted that the public wasn't being told everything. Different people, different backgrounds, but their stories all point in one direction: that what we've been shown might not be the full picture. So the critics keep asking, where's the proof? And Donna's defenders keep asking, why are so many voices saying the same thing? Because if you believe the critics, this is a misunderstanding, an honest technician misinterpreting a process she didn't fully grasp. But if you believe Donna Hare, then it's not a misunderstanding at all. It's a message, a glimpse behind the curtain, and a reminder that sometimes the absence of evidence is evidence of removal. It's been over 50 years since Donna Hare first walked through the photo labs at Johnson Space Center. Over 20 years since she sat down in front of cameras and told the world what she saw. And still, her story hangs in the air. Unproven, unrefuted, unresolved. Some dismissed it as Cold War paranoia, a relic of a more secretive time. A woman chasing shadows in the corners of old photographs. But here's the thing, the shadows are still there. And now, more than ever, we're being asked to look at them again, because the world has changed, and so has the conversation. In 2020, the Pentagon did something no one expected. It released official footage of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. Real videos, real encounters, confirmed by US Navy pilots. No more shaky cell phone clips. No more whispers in the dark. We don't know what these are, the Pentagon said, and we're not ruling anything out. Then came the hearings. Former intelligence officers testifying under oath. Claims of crash retrieval programs, non-human materials, and classified efforts to reverse engineer technology not made on Earth. Mainstream news didn't laugh. Congress didn't scoff. The world listened. So why does Donna's story matter now? Because for the first time in history, the official narrative is cracking. The government is admitting, openly, that we're not being told everything. And that changes everything. Because if what Donna said in the 1970s was a lie, why is it lining up with what military insiders are saying now? If there was never a cover-up, why are we only just now being told that UAPs are real? If no photos were ever altered, why were there rooms full of analysts tasked with scrubbing space imagery clean before release? And if these are just anomalies, why the secrecy? Why the silence? Why the threats? Donna Hare matters because she said it before it was safe to say it. Before congressional hearings, before whistleblower protections, before anyone believed the government would admit even a fraction of what it now concedes. She spoke up when it could only hurt her. No fame, no fortune, just the truth as she saw it. And now, decades later, that truth is circling back. Because this isn't just about one woman and one photograph. It's about a pattern, a system, a veil stretched so tightly across our understanding of space, reality, and our place in the universe, that even now, we're only just beginning to see through it. Donna Hare was one voice, but she was never alone. And as the evidence mounts, as more insiders step forward, as the skies continue to raise questions no one can answer, her warning doesn't sound like conspiracy anymore. It sounds like a head start. So let's ask the question no one really wants to ask. What if she wasn't confused? What if she wasn't exaggerating? What if Donna Hare was right? What if inside those photo labs, behind clearance doors and quiet hallways, there really were images we were never supposed to see? Not because they were flawed, not because they were blurry, but because they revealed something we weren't ready to understand. What if the Airbrush room wasn't a rumor, but a firewall? What if the moon, that lifeless, silent orb hanging in our skies, was never empty? And what if those technicians, the ones who whispered warnings, who told her to forget what she saw, were only doing what they'd been told, following orders, protecting a secret, not from enemy nations, but from us? Because when you put it all together, her story, the testimony, the patterns, the warnings, the silences, it doesn't sound like science fiction. It sounds like protocol. It sounds like policy, a quiet, decades-long strategy to manage what we're allowed to know about space, about contact, about how small and how watched we might actually be. And here's the part that should make us all pause. She told this story when nobody else would, before Navy pilots stepped forward, before Congress admitted the videos were real, before the word UFO was rebranded as UAP and moved from tabloids into official government briefings. She was early, too early for her own good. But now the world is catching up. So maybe the question isn't, was Donna Hare telling the truth? Maybe the question is, how much of that truth are we finally ready to hear? What else is out there, still hidden, still waiting, still marked for deletion? And the biggest question of all, if she was right about this, what else have we been wrong about? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe so you can continue to get questions like this at your doorstep.